today is a mixed media kind of a day. One of my favourite things about stamps is that you can take it off the page and do so many different things with it. So today we are, excuse the rustle, today we are teaming it with a Mad Hatter's bobbin kit to make a beautiful mixed media centrepiece. So I hope you'll join me. So this MDF kit comes in various sections. So the first section I am pulling out is the bobbin kit, and I am just going to assemble that together. I did find the easiest way of assembling this together was to use both the top and bottom simultaneously. I did try and do all the bottom and then fix the top after. That really didn't go well. So it is a little bit of a footer doing like this. You do need to sort of wiggle each piece as you are putting it in, but I did find overall that this was the easiest way of doing it. But just take your time. It's not difficult. It's really easy to put together and worth it in the end. So we're just about to put the last piece in. That is the most tricky because you don't have as much wiggle room, but yeah, it's very manageable. And there we go, that is the bobbin all done. So we just need to hide those little notches, and there is a top and base to do that. So I'm getting my gel medium out, popping that all over the top of the bobbin, so that we're going to be able to get this nice and secure. Gel medium literally sticks anything to anything. Seriously, I've made a replayer in my studio. There was this job that I was asking my husband to do for ages, just on the corner, and he never got round to it, and I fixed it with gel medium. So there you go. Now we're using gel medium to pop the house together, and again, dead easy. We just pop it in the notches, slide that together. I'm probably a bit overkill here because it was very secure as it was, but I just decided to put it around all the joins to be on the safe side. And then we need to get to going of gessoing everything. So I do like to gesso. The MDF doesn't particularly need it, but I'm wanting a nice bright look, so it's easier to work on white. Plus your MDF is very absorbent, and so it's better to use gesso first because it's a cheaper product than your paints. So give everything a good going, and there is the colour palette I have chosen for this particular project. So I've chosen that colour palette from the colour box. There will be a video coming on that soon. I'm still in the process of filming it. And yeah, so here's some of the paints that we are going to use. I am going to go on about this wet palette again. This thing is incredible. It probably took me about a week and a half to make this because I was doing it in between filming other bits and pieces for the launch, and things take time to dry, so I would do the first coat, leave it overnight, come back and do another coat, etc, etc. This paint is still in that palette. I still need to use it up. I'll need to put it in a journal or something. It's now been sat there for 3 weeks and it is just as fresh as it was when I put it in. It's honestly, if you use acrylic paint of any way, shape and form, best thing ever. So I'm adding detail to the little tree. I decided to go with 3 shades of blue, so we've gone with a nice pale one. I put a slightly darker one on the leaves, and then I've just added a touch of yellow to some of the leaves because they're actually in different shapes, so I've kind of gone with the shapes, and as they blend it sort of made a soft green, which really worked. Now this is a lesson in, if it's not right, just keep going. So I decided the yellow box was too bright, and it needed a bit more interest. So I decided, let's make it a two-tone house. So I put the white down, and that was all right, but I didn't think it was enough of a contrast. So then I started painting blue. That blue wasn't particularly working. So then off camera, I went for the really bright blue, and it was hideous. I really didn't like it. So I then started wiping it off madly in the hopes that I hadn't ruined it. And then as I was wiping it off, I quite liked the distressed look that it gave. So now we had this little bit of white paint, a little bit of blue paint. It was giving the house a bit of interest that I wanted. So this is the lesson in just keep going. So now I was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'll do the resist technique. So I've pulled out the petroleum jelly, and basically you want to put that on the areas you want to keep. So I put it over the little corners that already looked quite good and over the main base. And then I followed what I just previously done. So we gave everything a layer of white. By this point I was really needing to get the video done, so I've not let it dry overnight. I've blasted it with the heat gun. Wiped that off so that we get that little bit of a distressed look. And then I'm going in with the blue. Again, blasting with the heat gun. Got to love these heat guns. They do make life so much easier when you're in a push. And again, wiping that all off. Now this is great. It's given me a little bit of extra detail. It's softened that yellow so that it works better for a winter theme, and I'm really happy. So even if you think you've ruined something, don't panic, just keep going. You will get there. It will be okay. So now we are just going to decorate the main body of the bobbin. Again, I knew I wanted to do this with paper, but I wanted to make sure it was nice and strong. And so because I'm going to use decorative paper, I decided to stick some decorative paper to a card base just to make sure it was nice and firm, and also that we wouldn't get the ridges of the MDF showing through, that it would look a bit softer. So once I got that stuck together, again, gel medium comes to our salvation, and I just slapped gel medium all over this and then just literally rolled it on. It was dead easy, no faffing at all. It just went on perfect straight away, and then I just put a bit more gel medium down the centre to seal it. Now I am struggling there. We get it in, but it's a bit of wiggle room required. That is not down to the design. That is down to I probably got too much paint as I was painting the base. So if you do find yourself in that situation, normally a little wiggle and it'll be fine. Or you can also sand the notches a little bit and you'll get it in. So adding the details to the house, and now that blue looks good with the house. It was looking a bit stark before we went for the whole blending things. I do find the roof is far too blue, but I had plans for that, so it's okay, I wasn't too worried. And now we are reenacting putting gel medium, because as you can see I've done it before, but I forgot to record it. So I did it on video. So we added gel medium to the house and stuck it down, and then I ran up to the house, stole my daughter's pom-pom collection because I don't have pom-poms in my craft stash, so I stole hers. And I've just taken some of the white ones and I wanted to build them up in various areas on the bobbin to create like great big snowballs or snowdrifts, and really build up the look of this. So I've got some on the base, that one's particularly fluffy that I've put down, but I also knew that I was going to be putting a layer of gesso on and other bits and pieces, and so it all works. So never be worried. When you do mixed media, you go through a fair few ugly stages as you layer things on, and you can be like, oh, it was looking so good and I've just wrecked it. Just bear with, trust the process, you will get there. So I've got some puffy paint. The reason I wanted puffy paint is, again, I was wanting that look of icicles, of deep snow, and because the puffy paint was slightly raised, I thought that would be easier to achieve than just using gesso on its own. So I've just sort of dribbled it literally everywhere. And as I said, you're going to see the back of these projects, so I've done the back of the house as well. I've done the roof. This is why I wasn't too worried about the roof, and I completely emptied the bottle for this. Once I'd done that, I then sort of stick the little mice in to where they are going to sit. So I've got looking up at the bottom of the ladder and the little sleepy mouse at the back. And then I took some of the foliage elements from the mice mail set and sort of started just popping them in various places. So this one we're building it up and building up the scene. I love scene building, but this time we're doing scene building on a 3D element. I think this would make a perfect centerpiece to a table or a decoration on a mantelpiece. It is so cute. Now, I wasn't liking how that foliage was. I think it was because it was all too similar. So I just sort of cut into it and cut it down so that we had a variety of heights. And then I think that just looked a lot more natural. Now it's time to get out the white gesso. So yep, we're going to be doing dry brushing. So I did want the whole thing to look like it had been dusted in snow. And that's why I used a combination of both the puffy paint and the gesso. I wanted to build up and look like everything had snow on it. But I did want the sort of dimension as well that the puffy paint got. The puffy paint is also quite glossy, which isn't a particular look that I like. So the gesso just knocked that back again and gave it a more of a matte finish. And I particularly wanted to put the gesso over all of these pom-poms because I want them to look like snow. I definitely gave it more of a snowy texture than a pom-pom texture. I was able to neaten up the edges of the puffy paint and bring the snow coming down. Then the final step was to add a little bit of souffle. Again, because this was a 3D thing, I could roll it into the nooks and crannies and fill out little gaps that there was. It does start looking a bit like a hot mess, but with this particular product, you have to wait for it to dry. So it's going to dry clear and it's just going to add a gorgeous texture and a gorgeous sparkle to the finished product. So again, I'm just having a lovely time building this up, and I also put some on the ladder because you would get snow on the ladder too. And there we go. Here is the finished piece sitting in my studio. So I hope you have enjoyed making this with me. We have a whole playlist of inspiration on how to use this particular collection. So I hope you enjoy watching that, and I will be back with more crafty goodness very, very soon.